Mediocre Hobbies Podcast, Season 2, Episode 16. The Good, the Bad, and the Golden Chin. Follow us online. The Golden Chin is on Instagram as _golden_chin. Andy is at youtube.com/mediocre hobbies. And Tom is at tomlandy.com.
Hello.
Hello, now I can hear me.
Happy Monday.
There's nothing ever happy about it, Tom. That's a blatant lie.
Well, I mean, the end of it. What is this? He's
yeah.
never got his flags out before. Is this some sort of weird pride?
No, it's a case of the flag that was at my wedding. We had a
Ah.
Dublin and a Kerry flag. The Kerry flag survived better than the Dublin flag.
Yeah, he thought he lost it, but they were genuinely tried to tear it up and wreck it on the dance floor.
Really?
So I had to take it away and stuff it in my jacket, and then he obviously knew he wanted it because he came in, like now introducing Mr. and Mrs. Although it was their own names. They had their own. They each had their own flag walking down, which is very cool. So
yeah,
right.
They've got the one that looks like it has the V8 coming out the back, like sounds like it's Sebulba's racer going across the
Yeah.
yes,
Everybody knows that sound.
sounds like I get it at 47 and hit the button, it won't happen. But it's okay. It goes to face to face to face. So if I'm not talking, it happens. It just doing it.
Well, at the moment it doesn't, but it will.
Oh crap! Oh well. Fine. It's totally fine.
We're
Totally fine. I mean, we just edit it. It's fine. Nothing bad ever happens.
What's this? Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Mediocre Hobbies Podcast with co-host Mr. Tom Landy. And today we are joined by none other than...
How long can I make the pregnant pause go on before I actually say anything? Hello.
Edit out the pause, so it doesn't matter.
I'll edit it all out. Don't you worry.
We, of course, joined by Mr. The Golden Chin, as many people will know him as, but I know him as Dave McGowan, previous colleague and current friend, and Golden Trophy winner and finalist pin winner of many times over, and generally all around kind of nice guy. He's getting less nice by the day, but we'll get over that.
You're to blame for a lot of that, you do realize,
I didn't say I wasn't.
Like I also it was like current friend. It's like that's a time limited.
Yeah, I thought that as well. That was a bit harsh.
If you move down to Kerry, what are we gonna do? Like
this is the marvels of technology,
Andy, when did I last physically see you? 10 years ago?
I don't know.
Well, yeah.
No. We saw each other at the GT and
Pre-pandemic.
Hotel in Dublin.
Oh.
Oh yeah, definitely pre-pandemic.
Jesus, I ran that GT. Wow, that's really going back.
Yes, you did.
Yep. That was a good event.
Yes.
Not just because you were here.
Yeah, and then that whole thing just imploded. But that's a story for another day.
I mean, we're actually talking about the. Do you watch the painting phase religiously?
Yes.
Have you seen the new one with Tom what's his face from the hobby products team?
The guy who's responsible for
contrast and yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, really, really good. And I brought this up earlier on, and Andy immediately went into, Mick's always talking about how important the tournament scene is. And it's like, it is really important, and we're not disagreeing with that, but it's not actually big business. It's like, it's our big business if it's your business, but it's not Games Workshop's business.
It's not a revenue stream.
No, not until like the Skaven army or whatever comes out and everyone buys that one model on repeat. We've been there. We know exactly what that's like.
Yeah, that plus multiple pots of what was it, Agrex Earthshade at the time.
Yeah, that was like Devlin Mud at the time, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, Devlin Mud. That's really going back. There's a throwback there in it. The better days.
Man, I'm getting really excited for Old World. I know we talked about this. I'm not going to talk about this because we talked about this for like the entire last podcast.
We can go for it.
I'm so excited about it. I keep talking about it, and I keep getting like. Even Tim was talking about it. It's like, do you remember the time where if somebody declared a charge on a warp lightning cannon, its only reaction it was allowed to make was to flee. So people would be like, okay, first turn. And you remember, you couldn't pre-measure. So he's like, I'm going to charge your warp lightning cannons. Oh, that's more, I can't be sure if it's more than 12 inches away. I don't know. So can you just declare your reaction? Oh, you have to flee off the table? Cool, have a good day. I was like, I hate this game.
I still remember the first game, taking my steam tank out with my Empire and playing against Mixed Chaos.
Tower.
Yeah. Haunted Tower. It's like, I'm going to park up beside this building. Oh, it's mysterious terrain. Let's roll a dice and see what it is. Oh, it's a haunted building. Oh, it slowly starts chipping away at it. So now, what are steam tanks pretty good at doing when they take wounds? Not moving, that's for sure.
No, because like well, I remember it because I was actually there, and I took a picture of something else in the room, like my game, and your game is in the background, and your steam tank is next to the tower. It's really
Yeah.
funny. But it's like you can't fail the boiler check on a steam tank until it starts taking wounds. You can't physically
Yes.
fail it. So it was like turn one, you were like, oh, the Haunted Mansion takes a wound. Okay, boiler, it blows a gasket, takes wounds, and it never moved. It just kept taking wounds and blowing gaskets for the rest of the game.
Never moved, never shot, nothing. Just a nice additional scenery piece. It just decided, oh yeah, this looks like a great place to park up for the night. I wonder what the rates are like in this haunted mansion. I'm sure they're reasonable.
You came back in the morning and your steam tank was on blocks, pal. But yes, give me Oddworld now.
Yeah, for anyone wondering, Dave Dice has long been a thing. It's not just the battle reports. That's always been a thing.
I think it's a curse of Dublin City Games Workshop because my dice are exactly the same.
My theory, and I think I don't know, maybe it's a theory that goes beyond sort of the Irish gaming community, but it's a case of you can do one of two things. You can paint, you can play. You can't do both. The two are mutually exclusive.
Right.
Yeah.
So what about if you can't paint and you can't play?
There must be something you can read.
All right. So Dave, the reason I wanted to talk to you is because I've got this challenge for myself that next year, 2024, I'm going to enter something to Golden Demon.
Okay.
And so I have started to go down the road of trying to be better at painting. So I've got some new paints, I've got some new brushes, and I think whenever I figure out what model I'm going to buy the same model 3 or 4 times and paint him once and then paint him better and whatever.
Yeah.
But part of this is like you're the best painter that I know. Like, I've met you, spent some time together. But you've won like Golden Demon awards, right? And I think that the one that you won for is actually probably the worst one that you've entered. Like some of the ones you've done after that look so much better. And I don't know if that's just the photographs are weird or bad or whatever, or maybe you'd completely disagree with me and punch me. But like, I think the duel that you did with the elf and the dwarf is 10 times the River Town Watchman, right? And he's awesome, but it's like, maybe it's just style thing. What drives you to do, first of all, want to compete at that level? Because I want to do it because I've never done it and it's a bit of fun, right? But everything you seem to do is just it's better, right? It's just more and it's better. So what is it that drives you to get to that level? And what could you do differently now that you couldn't do when you won your trophy?
Ooh, okay. You're going to need to give me a second to try and process that. That's
Bit harsh, I know, but
yeah. What could you do now that you're less shit? Like,
So I was there, and when we saw your model in the cabinet for Lord of the Rings, we pegged it for a trophy when we saw it. When we looked at it that year, we were like, "Oh, Dave, you're in this year. Like, this is like, because it's always fun. Like, remember the year before we went and the guy had the goddamn Elrond walking down the stairs,
Yeah.
and I was like, "You're not in it this time, Dave. You're done, right? These guys are gone." So I don't know.
I don't want to diss that because it is. I'm actually just scrolling to find it right now. I think it's an awesome paint job, but I just feel like what you've been a finalist pin for since then is 10 times better than what that was. But maybe it was just the field and the year, or maybe it's the photography of it is just bad because it is against like a white background in most of it. So
a lot of it can be down to what you come against in the field and when you enter into Golden Demon, because Golden Demon is a weird one. I'm purely speaking now about that because that's my kind of primary experience in terms of painting competitions and that kind of stuff. I know there's other ones online and other ones around the world. I've only really taken part in Golden Demon. And that for me was kind of a natural evolution from taking part in my local store competitions. So like back when I was, I don't know, 15, 14 or whatever, I was taking part in the local ones in Games Workshop Dublin or in Games Workshop Blanchardstown and doing reasonably well in those fairly regularly. So for me, the next natural evolution of that was going to somewhere like Games and thinking, right, time to push myself on to what's next. And it's always that kind of drive at the back of my head of like, okay, what's next? What could you do differently the next time around? But when you're preparing for Golden Demon, you're kind of doing it in a vacuum because it's such a large nebulous kind of thing where you've got so many people entering from not just like obviously okay we've a relatively small-ish community here in Ireland, but you've a huge community over in the UK, massive painting communities over in countries like Spain and in sort of the Nordic regions like Sweden and all that kind of stuff, where it's just insane levels of talent, and you don't really get to sort of interact with your peers on that kind of level as much as you would like if you actually knew them. Sort of, I'm kind of rambling on it, and even as I'm
No,
saying
not at all. I think you're completely right, and you're reminding me of, I don't know if you watched the latest Squidward video where he just talked through his painting history, and there's one point in that where he's one of his first models, he copied someone else's style, and he was then doing a cave troll or river troll or something later on, and he was also copying their style, and he stopped halfway through and never finished it because it was not his style anymore. And again, he's working in isolation, but at least he's got these videos that he's trying to work towards. So like I can see what you mean by that.
Yeah, but I think one of the question you asked me there, what would I do differently now compared to what I would have done at the time? And I think now the main thing that I'd probably change compared to how I approached some of my previous entries is now I have contacts is a bad word to use, but there are more people I kind of know in that painting sphere that I can bounce ideas off of that have like a wealth more experience than I do and that are far better painters than I am. Whereas before I was kind of, I don't know, big fish, little pond kind of situation where I was sort of topped out at the level I could hit, and then I was trying to, you go over to these places and you see people like, Richard Gray and Patrick Putty, and you see all these guys who are just like leagues ahead of you, and you're basically fangirling their way, like, oh my god, I saw that model online, that was amazing, and then actually get to like see the thing in person. So yeah, like a huge part of taking part in something like Golden Demon is you have no idea what's going to be there on the day. You have no idea who's going to turn up from where with something that you could never have sort of thought of in your head. And to see them blow the competition out of the water.
And I guess part of it as well is like, especially modern Golden Demon, like we look at what won the last Golden Demon competition. You're kind of hamstrung if you're just taking a model off the shelf. Like some of these guys are custom sculpting their model with some parts, but some of it not even.
I remember the winner of Adepticon GT Golden Demon was just a skink.
Yeah.
That standard model, no conversion, no nothing. I've got 2 points on that. Well, one point is like one of the things I think it's important to know is that like where you were like you think some of his other models are better than the Lord of the Rings models. So it's not so much the case now, but obviously he's limited by Lord of the Rings sculpts because they weren't as nice as a lot of the Age of Sigmar sculpts. A lot of the new resin ones now are new plastic feed. They're all up to that standard now. So he's like, that's not a thing. But also, if he puts a beautiful model into an Age of Sigmar category, he's against 1,000 people. Where if he puts a Lord of the Rings model on, he's against 50 people. So there's like a difference there as well, like level of talent. It's all statistic based and stuff. Another thing that I was thinking of there, and it only made me think of it when you were like, what's different now? And I'm like, well, every year the standards go up. Like every year it's better than the last year. There's like a better model. It's crazy. And I was like, holy crap, I just realized that it's not just good enough to get better at painting. Because if you're getting better at painting slower than the standards are going up, then you're never going to catch.
And that's the crux of it is you're in a constant arms race almost to try and figure out, right, what's the next big thing. And there's two streams that you can kind of go down with this, and this is one of my particular hobby horses now, so strap in. This is where I'm going to just stream.
Oh no, go for it. This is good.
So there's this whole idea of the Golden Demon meta, let's say, right? And nobody knows what it is, because it is, as Andy was saying, it's basically defined by what wins Golden Demon the previous year, right? So for ages we were seeing a massive influx of things like non-metallic metals or object source lighting, OSL, all this kind of stuff. Massively converted models, completely like sculpts from just like bare bones, like from scratch, working all that kind of stuff. And then you see someone pulling out that insane skink, just straight out of the box, nothing fancy, base, nice and little minimal base, nothing crazy, nothing too mad about it. And then you see a slew of those entries come in, and the whole thing is just flipped on its head. And even things like color palettes. Like when we were looking at, if you go back a couple of years to when the original foundation paints were out, and they had those kind of sort of drab, pastel-y kind of tones, and you had all the shades come out, and everything was quite dark and drab. And compared that color palette, which was quite, I suppose, grim dark is a phrase that always gets bandied around with Warhammer, but compare that to sort of the really vibrant and poppy and almost like 90s kind of style of entries that you see now.
Well, even just the new
paints that we have available, you know,
the newer contrast stuff, like even things like Talassar blue and the Plague Bearer green, like super bright colors in comparison to what you're talking about. Yeah.
And I think that the idea of I want to take part in Golden Demon. The first question you have to ask yourself is, why do you want to take part in Golden Demon? Because if you're going to say to yourself, right, I want to take part in Golden Demon because I want to go and I want to win, I'm going to be saying to you, don't go. Because you will not enjoy it. Golden Demon isn't a journey or an end. Sorry, Golden Demon isn't an end goal. Golden Demon should be seen as like one step on the journey. You know, the whole idea is that like, for me, it's sort of the big event of the year because I get to go over, see a massive range of really cool models, talk to other people who are, you know, passionate about painting, and like whether it's at a high standard, a low standard, just observing cool models painted, just think, oh, I really love what he did with this thing. It really kind of captured the essence of what this model is about. Oh, I never thought of doing that kind of conversion, or, you know, flipping that whole color scheme on its head. It really gives you a bit of I suppose inspiration. It really kind of reignites the whole engine. Like, I think you want to be going into Golden Demon with that kind of mentality in your mind, rather than, I want to go in and smash it and come home with a lot of trophies, because I think that's, it's a competition and there is that aspect to it, but I think it is more about the community side of things and the participation and that whole vibe that you get when you go. That should be why you want to go and take part. You want to be involved in something that's, you know, that inspiring, and that a lot of other people, like, it's a dream just to enter Golden Demon. You know, I remember when I was a kid flicking through White Dwarf thinking, oh, I'll never be good enough to do that. I'd love to go to Games Day someday. And then, you know, a couple of years later, actually being able to go and actually being able to take part and be recognized.
Then get your model in White Dwarf.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, it's huge.
What did that feel like? Because never mind winning, right? Because you won what you won. But how cool was it to see your model in White Dwarf? Like, what was that like?
That was pretty mind blowing. Like, I remember when they used to bring out the winners in like the pull out sheaf at the back of the magazine, and you'd be able to like flick through, oh yeah, all these ones were won. And like, I've got dog-eared copies of the few that were still going around when I was collecting White Dwarf at the time, and I still go back and leaf through them from time to time.
I thought it was surreal, which for me, I thought I was obviously jealous of you being in White Dwarf, but I was more jealous of the fact that you did they did a special.
What, that he was there on merit?
Oh yeah, of course. He was there for because he was a trophy winner. They did a special painting competition the next year, and that's what he did, his beautiful Stormcast silver guy. But not only that, but I walked into the Hall of Miniatures. I was walking around, and then there was a cabinet with all. I was like, "There's Dave's model in the Hall of Miniatures." Like, hundreds of people are looking at this model every day. Like, it's here for a whole year, so hundreds of thousands of people are going to be gawking and taking photos of your model. Like, a White Dwarf was great, but people flick through it, and then that's that month, and then it goes into a pile. And you know what I mean? Like, I just
And to be honest, that
model on display is so cool.
That's the reason I thought my question was so harsh at the beginning, because your painting is absolutely inspiring and it's absolutely like next level stuff, and I can't do anything. Even like I must have said it to Andy about 50 times since we started recording this, just your absolutely crazy way to base a model where you're not covering the whole base, right? That is, I don't know where you've got that idea from. I don't know, you know, but
that's going back to one of those old White Dwarfs where it was a case of, oh, here's a plinth, and they only covered like part of the thing, and like if that's the plinth, like the basing is kind of coming off to one side, and
but it's mind blowing. Like that to me is like when I see the work you've done on your, definitely not Death Watch, but kind of assemble like Death Watch Space Marines.
May as well be Death Watch, not Death Watch Marines.
And they've all got that weird base. Honestly, like, it comes up like every second week, right, Andy? Like, it's just nonstop. I love this basing, and it is one of those things that is inspiring to me and like interesting to me, even though it's not like the base isn't special. It's special because it's the way you do it, and that's why I kind of wanted to start with such a horrifically mean question. These guys are really horrible questions. Like, why have you done better things since then? What you're not working on anything at the moment, I assume, because we've just hit Golden Demon season and you've just got married, but like,
yeah, so it was literally a case of I was thinking, oh yeah, maybe this year I can, enter something into Golden Demon. And then it's like, oh no, okay, so it's the last bank holiday before that. No, there won't be a wedding if I go. I will be mysteriously murdered the moment my feet touch Irish soil. Justifiably so. I should have.
The trick
My
is
wife
to
in the
marry
next
you,
village. Can't do that.
insure you, and then do you in. But
She's crafty like that,
I bet she is. I bet she is.
Um,
What would you have done if you had the opportunity this year, just with the field the way it is, and obviously you're someone who looks at it?
Yeah, the idea I kind of had rattling around in my head, and it's a model that I actually did start and may go back to just to finish it's an idea I've had rattling around in my head. Is one of the first things I entered into Golden Demon I got kind of anywhere with was a Kilocan.
Yes.
So one of the plastic ones just when that kind of came out. I've no idea where the actual model is now. It's probably in 1,000 pieces at the bottom of the case somewhere. But I always wanted to kind of go back and redo that as like, this is where I kind of first got my taste of like, oh, here, I got a pin for this. Cool, right? I'm going to go back and doing what I know now with the skills I have now, retry that. See, could I do better with that, or could I achieve the same level of results with that? Plus, there's so many, like the orc range has changed so much since. There's all the kinds of things you can add onto it to add that little bit of extra something to it,
Yeah. No, I feel like, so to answer something that you brought up a minute ago, the reason I want to enter is not because I think I'm going to win. It's a really simple one, and I think it'll be obvious when people watch this because you'll see the pictures. Your Space Marines are not special because they're all potentially Golden Demon winning, but because your skills have gotten so good, they are what I grew up with, or maybe even more recent, heavy metal standard. And to have an army that is default heavy metal standard, basically, and you're just a guy doing it in your spare time, like, I want to just learn some new techniques and develop my skills to paint better, because I can paint quickly. Like, I got Dante home today and he's in the condition he's in now after maybe an hour, because got a 3-month-old. So like, I'm fast. Like, if I can do anything, I can paint quickly. But I know he's messy. He's shitty. Like, he's fine. He looks good when you just spin him in front of a camera with no lights. But like, well, yeah, woo, it's blurry. But seriously, and it's like, I know that it's like everything else, right? Like, if I learn a new technique, like your basing style, or anything else, and I then test that on a model and improve on that on a model. Like, I didn't put decals on a model. Like, I'm 38. I've been in the hobby since I was 11. I didn't put decals on a model until during the pandemic. Just could never figure it out. And then I was at home and I was doing my Chaos Knights, and I was like, I'm going to put some decals all over these. And every single Chaos Knight has decals on them, and they're covered in decals. But like, that was a skill I did not have, and now I have it.
And that's something, just jumping on that one, actually, when you say decals, like, that's something that I'm seeing now used more and more in Golden Demon entries. Like, there's one guy, Mamicon, on Twitter and Instagram. And so a lot of his stuff, like, he does really nice sort of Black Templars and a lot of really nice Sisters of Battle, and they're done in that kind of slightly orange hued John Blanche artwork that was the cover of the original Black Templars. Yeah, so that guy.
He's amazing.
Yeah, his stuff is really cool, and he's quite, like, again, he's one of these guys that I met over at Golden Demon, and he's quite easy to chat to, and he's quite a nice guy. But he uses a lot of decals in his work. So what he usually does is he'll sort of paint, if he's doing, say, a parchment that there's a seal on it, he'll put the parchment just as a flat color, apply the decal, and then go in and shade and weather and highlight after all that's done. So it looks like the whole thing was either free-handed on or is all part of this. And it's taking the tools that you have and applying them in a different way. And it works. Like, it works for him.
Did he do that the shield one like a couple of weeks ago? The Blade Guard veteran shield, like the quartered red and bone.
No, that was a Travarian.
Yep, Travarian, yeah.
Same kind of idea. Again, taking something simple, using the that
Yeah,
guy's name.
so many good guys out there.
And they're all kind of gravitating towards that similar kind of style, and actually going like right back around again, that whole thing of style. And like you were saying, like when Squidmar was doing those videos and models that he never finished, when you're trying to ape someone's style, and kind of bringing the thing back around to Golden Demon a little bit, is if you're looking to paint something to Golden Demon standard, there's no Golden Demon standard. There's no heavy metal standard. There's just your best standard. So let's take whatever your style is, whatever you know how to paint, and do the best version of that you can do.
Yeah.
And forget about what everyone else is doing. There's always this kind of temptation to, like, in the run up to Golden Demon, and I'm guilty of it myself, to be fair, is that you go in and you start looking at, oh, okay, so these are some of the other entries that are going to be in the cabinets alongside my category. Okay, great. Well, that's completely just like sucked all the joy I had when I was working on this thing.
You have done that every year, buddy.
Pretty much every year. Yeah. Like, and there has been some success that people have done with that. Like I think there was one which was, to this day, I still kind of think back on that one. I'm like, that was really, really clever. Why the hell didn't I think of that? Where a guy does, it was a Bretonian knight sort of kneeling in front of an open door.
Yep.
And he'd done one of the old kind of like haunted house type tricks where you a sheet of glass at a certain angle and a light shining on it from a different angle, and it's reflecting like the model of the lady onto the glass.
Yeah.
When you're looking through the door, it just looks like there's an apparition of the lady just floating in the room like a ghost. And it's just, again, it's that whole thing, like you put it in a gilt frame, so it looked like this whole glorious medieval scene. And yeah, no, it's the only danger with something like that is you have to know which category to put it into. So yeah, something for open, 100%. Something for like a diorama, amazing. It'd be fantastic. Sticking it in a unit category and you're out of luck because you've done something that's not true to what the brief for that is.
Yeah. I've actually noticed a lot of people changing things in. There was a lot of stuff this year where it's like they went up and they were like, this goes into open or whatever. And then when they went to find their model, it had been moved.
Yeah.
Like people are like, this isn't a note, like you got it wrong. They're real strict about like, no, this isn't a single model, this belongs in the monsters, or this is a. So even if you think you know which category you want to put it in, you could get it wrong. Do you think there would be a place for a like, I can understand from a business point of view why they wouldn't want this, but do you think there would be a place for a retro category?
I think it'd be worth exploring. Like, if I'm thinking back to some of the older categories that you used to have, like you had open, but you also had things like large scale, and that's where people were just going in and just sculpting everything by hand, or it was the
That's
old.
still there, isn't it? Oh no, they were in open this year. You're right. Yeah.
There was what was it that you had? Inquisitor, the old
Yes,
Inquisitor
yeah.
models used to be able to
Yeah.
get. They were ones that used to fit into that. I think there's space for it, but I think for whatever reason there does seem to have been a consolidation of categories, less like everything's been kind of focused in more so than spread out. Like if you look now, you've got Blood Bowl has been folded into Age of Sigmar, whereas it used to be a case of you'd see the Age of Sigmar kind of or one category that people would enter, and it was one that I always intended to enter, and then Blood Bowl got folded into Age of Sigmar unit. And again, kind of going back to what Andy was saying, it's a case of, cool, I've done this amazing Blood Bowl team, and I'm now up against how many other people in that one category?
Yeah.
You're right.
I feel like it's been condensing a lot recently. Like they had Heresy Golden Demons at Heresy events up until pre-pandemic, and now obviously that's just part of the default, right? So, do you think it's necessarily a bad thing, or do you just think that there's more competition?
Not necessarily a bad thing. Personal preference, I'd like to see more categories, because then I think you see more variety of models, not only in terms of what actually wins, but just at the event itself. So I think having more categories encourages a broader field, and I think just for sort of say competition painting and the styles that you can see on the day, I think that's only a good thing. So I'd like to see some of the older categories come back. I'd love to see expansion of some categories as well, like say Lord of the Rings. I think it'd be kind of cool to see a Lord of the Rings unit category or a Lord of the Rings monster category as opposed to just the one thing for Lord of the Rings.
Like a mounted
for Lord of the Rings.
I said like a mounted one as a separate category.
Yeah.
That would be super, super cool. Or then even just to break it up even more, if you want like good and evil or whatever.
I kind of all I keep thinking of is, should they do Armies on Parade style Golden Demon entries? Like, should you be able to do? I've seen it a few times this year, and I think they probably ended up in the open category, but there were a few this year that had almost like a Death Watch team, I guess, where you've got the multiple different marks of armor and stuff, but with a background. Do you think like some sort of a terrain piece mandatory would be something interesting for you, or is that just me just saying words out loud?
No, I think there's merit in that. I think and maybe it's just me reading between the lines, but I think they're trying to push for Armies on Parade to have that sort of level of, I don't know, what do you say, gravitas that Golden Demon has, and I think it needs almost a separate. Like, I know you've got Armies on Parade Day per se, but I almost wonder, is Armies on Parade something that should be folded into Warhammer Fest, where you have, right, here's the Golden Demon Awards one of the days, here's the Armies on Parade Awards another one of the days, and it's that level.
Was supposed to be the idea, wasn't it? I was working for GW when Armies on Parade started, and I don't know about you two, but I thought it was muck. I never liked the idea. I thought it was an excuse to separate up those boards and sell them for 25 quid each or whatever. And I just always thought people misunderstood the idea of Armies on Parade. It's your army on parade, not you and who they're fighting and everything else. But I thought the original idea was that the best from the store came together.
Yeah.
And then you brought that with you to Games Day.
Yeah.
And then that was supposed to be the...
Yeah, that was
cream of the crop.
That was one of the, that was like, they did that for 2 years and that's about it really.
Yeah.
In my last few years running Armies on Parade in the store, I just flipped it on its head. I was so sick of, like you, the same thing. It was just like a thing. You have to have one of these boards. So I was just like, they're like, I don't have one of the boards. And my tagline was always, I will give you a 2 foot by 2 foot space in the store to display whatever you're proud of in the hobby from the last year. That's it. Whatever you want. I don't care. And people brought in all sorts of mad stuff and they had a great time. It was like 40 people in showing off their cool toy. It was awesome. Because, you know, a board doesn't fit into people's remit of like, I'm done. What are you going to do with this board now? I don't know. What am I supposed to do with it? Like,
Pretty sure the 1 year I took part in it, the board just lived in the shop and just ended up in the back and was probably used as a display piece at some point. Probably still is in the shop somewhere there, because it's like, this thing, but no. The models, thanks. The rest of it, no.
Yeah, it was. I mean, like, for instance, I did my weather top. I just put weather top down and I painted up Aragorn, 4 hobbits, the fire, and the 5 ring wraiths. And I entered that as this is what I'm doing for it. And everyone voted for it and loved it, and I got a thingy for it.
It was super cool, to be fair. But again, it was that idea. It's that this was the thing you were excited about that year. And that's what jumped out for people. Like, people were excited that, oh, cool, okay, this is what he really wanted to do and talk about this year. Awesome.
I totally agree with you. Like, I hadn't really thought about the idea of more categories would spread out the thing and, like I said, get more variety to the kind of hobby that you would see. Because, like you were saying, the people who follow the trends about Golden Demon, those people who are trying to win and are going back to preview, like, what's currently the thing that everyone's looking for, they mainly enter things like 40k single and Age of Sigmar single. So, like, you would get not even more variety of miniatures, but more variety of styles. And, like, people who do Blood Bowl aren't going to do, you know, double source lighting from red to blue, you know, all that kind of weird stuff. They're just going to paint a really good Blood Bowl team and give them awesome bases and maybe put a stand in and do all like that. And that was really cool to see. I never thought about that until you said it.
What I loved about this year, and particularly one thing I really have liked over the last few years, is the introduction of the commended entries.
Yes,
and
completely agree.
And then that they also photographed the commended entries and showcased them as well. So it wasn't just, here's the guys who won Golden Demon. There was a whole spread for a few days, and like, here's some of the commended entries that we thought were really, really
You know
cool.
what the commended entries actually are?
It's the last, you've made it to the last round, essentially.
The last 6.
Yeah.
The last 6 got commended entries. So you see, like, the 4th, 5th, and 6th got the little tag and the little. So you got, like, if you got a commended entry, it wasn't just like, oh, we thought it was cool. It was like, no, you were 1, 2, or 3 spaces away from getting a trophy. Like, you were close.
Yeah.
Super cool.
But I think the point is that they don't usually give you any feedback. Yeah. And so getting the commended entries is that, like, ooh.
I think it's fair to say as well, with the idea of, like, feedback, is that like MV Metal team are level 10 painters. But
Yeah.
so are 50, 60 people who are going to the event. So they can't give feedback of how to make it better. Like I've seen the tagline, and it seems to be a very thing. It's like, I'm sorry, we are not looking for what's good. We have to literally look for mistakes. That's how we have to judge this, because there's no other way to start. Like the top 10 entries for a single miniature 40K are flawless. You've no idea how difficult it is to pick which one is. And if they had to come the next day and we had done it again, it might be different. Like if I didn't have my coffee in the morning, it might be a different model I picked today. It's like, that's how perfect they all are.
Yeah.
There was a really interesting thing I watched when it was not Squidmar, it was Miniac. And he was saying he would love to run a large scale painting event. He would love to have that created and run it. But there would not be a finite amount of trophies. Do you know what I mean? It's like if you earned a trophy, you showed up with this model, like that deserves a trophy. So like 10 people go home with a trophy, 10 people deserved it. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I like that idea. Instead of like, all these 7 people got it, or these 7 people didn't get it because that one hair is out of place. So that 400 hours of work you did gets you nothing. It's like, oh, what? Yeah. I feel like I'm a loser now, and I like, you've created art. Like that thing should be in a cabinet and be seen by the world forever.
And I think that's the other thing as well. And you can probably speak a bit more to this, Andy, than I can, given you entered there last year, is at the end of the day, you get to bring your model over to what is one of the larger gaming miniature like showcase style events that's run these days, and you get to have your model seen by hundreds and thousands of people.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna give you a hot take. I would say most of the painting competitions I see are run online by big international companies that exist online. And people take photographs of their miniatures and they submit them. And I know people who have entered Golden Demon and done really well. I know the guy who won last year's Slayer Sword, the Dark Angel model. And his critique has always been the photographs do not look like the model because they touch them up. So I would say, and I know there are large, events I'd like Adepticon and stuff, but I think Golden Demon's one of the few actual painting competitions that's actually judged fairly, because the models are in the same place with the same light, judged by the same people, and it's not just an online vote for like
it's not a popularity.
When you go to a tournament and the one guy wins best army and his army is shit, but he brought his friends, so they voted for him. There's one guy in London who does this all the time, and I cannot. No, seriously, his painting, it looks like a part of the Louvre has melted and fallen onto his models. I just hate him, and he always wins the painting competitions. He's not good.
Stylistically, you can make that work,
I know you can. He hasn't.
I was going to say, like, Andy's Night Haunt models are like,
sure.
I'm for that turn. No, I'm talking about like the ones that were kind of that yellowy, kind of brown kind of tone. Like, it worked because they looked like they were, out of one of those kind of old style Renaissance paintings where everything's that kind of sort of sepia tone going through it. Like, I know sepia is just your answer to everything. Mine's doing both brown. It's fine. Everyone has their crutch, but but it worked.
I didn't win for that.
It was a stylistic kind of choice, but it's one that paid off.
I got best painted for my Gloomspite Gits. And I earned that. I earned that. I'm so proud of that army.
I mean, you cheated with the army when you played it, but you did earn that.
I did cheat.
Does Andy? Let's just get down to brass tacks. Does Andy know any rules?
No. You should see the game of 40K I played against Tim yesterday.
Oh, how was it? What did you take?
Guard.
Yeah.
I didn't know any rules. It got to the end and he was like, your army's good because of your abilities. My what? Okay. He's like, all your units have abilities and they're all really good. Are they? That's cool. I got hockeyed, like beyond hockey.
To be fair, how old is the edition at this stage? Like, it's a complete reset. So you're okay not knowing rules now.
Yeah, that's my takeaways are the game is busted because everything is busted. Do you know what I mean? So everything has got so many cool rules, has so much cool stuff. And Tim did nothing wrong whatsoever. He just knew the cool stuff his army did. And I didn't know the cool stuff I did, which is a real. So if you're going somewhere and you plan on playing a game, I think the cards are essential. I'll have to get all the cards now because like I'm gonna do some of this unit. What does it do? This unit does this. Okay, cool. I'm gonna do awesome. Like all of my Death Corps of Krieg infantry have a very cool rule called Grim Resolve.
Yep.
Once they are not at starting strength, so as soon as they lose a single wound, they get +1 to hit.
Yep.
And then once they're below half strength, they get +1 to hit and +1 to wound. I didn't know that until after the game.
I'm not sure if it's been clarified or maybe it's just been bandied about, but apparently if you've got a medic and you then heal that wound back, they've still taken it, so it still counts.
Oh, I didn't know. I was wondering
It's something like that. It's something
every single I had remembered this rule. I think it's really cool that all my Krieg have medics, so they all get D3 models back every turn.
Yep.
Here's an idea of how busted stuff is, right? You say that's ridiculous. So
yes, it is.
One of the command thingies for stratagem points is 2 command points, and it's called reinforcements.
No, it's so good.
You just pick a regiment unit that's dead, and it goes into reinforcements and comes on next turn.
You just but you have to have the points when they die. You have to have the points when they die. So that's the only challenge with that one. You have to have 2 points.
Well, I can get 2 points. 2 points isn't hard to get. But I'm just saying, like, I charge in my 10 Death Riders.
All right, hold on. Let's just stop here, right? 2 points might be hard to get if you know the rules. You might actually have used them for other things.
Oh, no. Don't be silly.
Just saying. Guard army. There's always more guys.
No, I know that.
Eventually, I was so far behind on points that I would just take my 2 secondary objectives and I wouldn't even look at them. I'm just like, I'm turning these in at the end of the turn for 2 command points. So they're not hard to get. See?
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
I think we're going to see big meta shifts between now and Christmas. A bunch of my mates have just been to a 2-day thing near Eastbourne, and they were terrified of the Night Armies. And I was just like, did you change your army in any way from 9th edition? They were like, no. And I was like, rhinos are tough to kill now, and there are full vehicle armies. So when people figure out that you just need to take a las cannon squad, or heavy weapon teams, I guess, for guard, or whatever it is, or like a good friend of mine who was helping run the event, he was the spare player, just took Bloodthirster Demon Army, and he fought Chaos Knights day 2, and he just walked up and wiped them off the table. Because once you get close to them, you can't. The void shields or whatever it is don't work, and so you just take 25 wounds off them and they're dead. That's it. Yep. Easy. Yeah. Like, it's the problem is people are still playing with 9th edition armies. Nobody's gone. Well, I need to change this. So, especially Andy, who hasn't even read his rules.
Not even close.
Won't matter. Right, I'll still be playing with Dave Dice, so it won't make a difference.
No.
Well, that's true. No. I have some important questions that I wrote down on a piece of wood while you guys were chatting about 10th edition. I'm moving. I don't have anything out. Nothing's out anymore.
Right on the wall there. You're moving anyway.
No, thank you. Right on my spray board. Right. So, how do you paint hazard stripes?
Start with yellow and then go black. Like people are gonna expect me to say, "Oh yeah, like you use masking tape," or I paint the surface yellow, and then I get some watered down black, and I just paint lines. And
right. Well, next question: how do you paint straight lines?
Yeah, exactly. Practice.
Masking tape. Don't tell people to use your steady hand. Just use masking tape.
Steady hand, it's fine.
I did it on stream once where I used masking tape and I didn't airbrush it. I just painted on over that and it worked perfectly. I was like, see, you don't just, it's on Green Stuff World hobby tape. It costs nothing. Just buy it.
Yeah.
Stop giving yourself headaches.
Yeah, your hazard stripes are, next level. It's not.
Like I'm looking at so many Iron Warriors this day. Yeah. It's practice. That's entirely what it's down to.
It's just so good. I'm looking at, I was trying to explain this to Andy probably about a month ago now.
I couldn't. All the podcast is him trying to explain things.
It's really difficult. The front of a Rhino and a Land Raider, on the right hand, left hand side, they've got like that little indent, which is like a rectangle with like a cornered piece at the top.
He means on the side. So
the side, yeah.
On the sideways, and you have that like bit where the armor goes in on the front and back.
Yeah, that kind of like, yeah.
Yeah. So I saw a guy on the internet about a month ago, and he had bought hazard stripe decals, and he had drawn a template that was the exact piece for that rhino. So what he did was he then put it on top of the hazard stripes, cut around it, and just stuck the whole thing in with the backing tape and everything. And because Andy hasn't spoken, so no one can see him with his hands in his head in his hands. But I'm telling you, it's such a good solution to that problem, but it is a mad solution to a problem.
So it's what you trace the outline and then trace the outline onto a sticker, cut out the sticker to the shape, and stick the sticker onto the thing.
Yep. He literally just transfers come on like a blue card or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He just stuck the blue card to the rhino. And then he
Oh, that hurts my brain.
I hope he's listening so I can say you should not be in the hobby.
I think it's genius. I think it's genuinely genious because
and you're entering Golden Demon next year, yeah?
I'm not saying I'm going to do that. I'm just saying I'm impressed with someone's ingenuity. Like that's
adapt and overcome. Yeah, no.
Those specific pieces, that like gap on a rhino and a Land Raider and stuff, I always thought people should make, like 3D printing companies should make parts that you just
just fill it in.
Something that's like the thickness of a coin that has hazard stripes etched into it, and you just glue them in and then just paint them, that kind of thing, like have detail or have. I've always thought that's a really good part of a tank to put something. I always weather it or put transfers in it and stuff. I love it.
It's a little bit like the Warhammer World command tanks. Like they have those little plastic bits. It's like the little reliquaries that just slot in there.
Exactly
and
that. That is awesome. More of that, please. Would you ever lower your standards to paint an army?
I mean, technically, no.
Best spray paint / undercoat method, please.
You take the model and you spray it Chaos Black and you're done.
Oh, so Games Workshop Chaos Black.
It's all I've ever known, and that's purely down to why I use it. I've never tried other brands. Sorry, I tell a lie. I once tried the Halfords primer, and it just did nothing for me. So my method is just wait until there's a somewhat clear, somewhat warm day. Make sure sit the can outside, let it just achieve the same temperature as what's going on outside, and then just dust the model in short bursts, and you're done. I don't usually do sort of zenithal like I know Andy swears by. I usually just do it's either black or it's white or it's grey. It's there's no mixing of the colors. That's rarely the way I go about that.
But you're just a rattle can man.
Yep, just a rattle can man. I've tried to use airbrushes. Like I had now I say tried. I got the cheap like 50 quid one out of Aldi. Sure. I saw it on offer one time. I was like, I'll try this and see if it's any fun. The compressor broke, and I never really used it. And entirely down to there's no this whole thing of like airbrush, no airbrush, a bit like there's no hot take there. It's literally a case of I'm too lazy to be cleaning and setting up an airbrush.
That's my hot take on them as well. Too much work around it. Okay. My next question, written on my piece of wood, best brush.
Best brush.
Yeah.
Again, I'm like just a standard Citadel, medium or extra fine, whatever the Artificer range is. I swear by those. I have tried...
Series 7s then, as we found out this week.
We already knew that.
Well, but now we know. You know when you know, and then someone tells you, and you're like, "Oh, okay, you bought them from them. Okay, cool, fine." Yeah, that's good though, because that's a very common brush, and that's good again.
Yeah, like I am very hard on brushes. Like brushes don't really survive long with me because I can tell you all the things you should do to take care of your brushes, and they'll serve you well and everything else. I don't do it because again, I'm lazy. I'm just a case of that's sitting in water overnight. Oh look, there's a lovely curve on that. It's fine. I can still paint with this. I can still dry brush with this. Yeah. Why would you get a dry brush for that? No, I'll just dry brush this with my fine detail brush. It's fine.
I buy new brushes whenever I start a project because I'm the same. And it's not that I don't try to keep them, but I just can't. I don't know. I'm stupid.
Yeah. I don't know if that's going to show on the camera at all. So that's a synthetic brush.
It is. You messed that one up.
Oh yeah, like so badly that the whole thing is cracked.
That was left in water. That's why that's cracked.
Yeah. But it still works. Well, no, it's not good for anything.
It still works.
But it still works.
Still works. What? Not those brushes. I do have a purpose for those brushes, and they're to scoop paint out of my pot onto my palette, and then add a touch of water to the paint, and then that's it. And then I go to the brush.
Here's a hot take I'll give for you now, right?
Go on.
Like scooping paint out and putting it onto a palette. I don't use a wet palette.
I didn't use a wet palette even for this.
I rarely use a palette either. Most of the time, most of my painting was done just using the top of the Citadel paint pot. Right, I'd throw the paint on there and mix it on that. And just
That is a hot take, ladies and gentlemen. That is a hot take.
Because I could spend time setting out all these things, and yeah, I can see the value in a wet palette. I can see the value in
3D print for you now.
I am 100% going to use a wet palette when I'm painting for my Golden Demon entry, because the painting competition that you ran at the Irish GT in 2019 that I entered 2 models in, there was the Stormcast sat on the chicken, and there was the Chaos character, like a Nurgle Chaos guy.
Yes.
I painted that Nurgle Chaos guy completely with washes and using a wet palette. It's the first time I ever used it. I followed Darren Latham's defunct YouTube channel on his Blight King masterclass thing, and I changed the color to yellow because my Nurgle army's yellow, and it absolutely changed the way I painted until I stopped using it.
I love them. The only reason I don't use them more is I'm out of paper. I should really order more.
Go to Tesco.
No, I like the ones that fit with the thing.
It's just greaseproof paper. Just get a knife.
It's neat, and it just goes. It's that floop when it just all separates.
Get a street urchin to cut it to size for you, and then you've cost you less.
I still haven't found anything that works as well as the Citadel range for shades, washes, and contrast.
Yeah, nobody has. I was watching. Who was I watching? Friend of the podcast, Pete the Wargamer, the other day, and he is a huge fan of the Too Thin Coats paints. But what he was painting was like a Sanguinius model, and it was too thin coats, glaze it with contrast, water down a bit. Yeah. And it's like there is nothing else like that. And if you like the shades and whatever, contrast is just that pro, right? Like it's just the next level.
Yeah.
Like I do that on everything. If I'm a big fan of like Dante painted his robe red or his tabard red, and then I contrast over it, because that's a really good way to add definition to red with red. It's great.
Golden Demon winner.
Yeah, that's yeah. Oh my god.
The secret, they have to actually blur it out.
Like, they do, yeah.
Or crimes against brushes. Like, there it is.
Big brush is blurring it out.